Welcome back. Hello to another Arty class hosted by Shopkeep Arty. Our shop platform, as you probably know by now, is used by artists and other creatives to take the hassle out of selling whatever they want. In fact, I had a call this morning from Julie Swan Art, who was interested in creating a shop. And so I decided to video record it with her permission, of course. And I've actually stuck it up on YouTube. So I actually, during the demonstration of the shop, I go behind the scenes on Tim Fisher's shop to kind of show you exactly how easy it is to launch items and sell basically whatever you want. So I'd urge you maybe after this class to hunt out our YouTube channel, shopkeepeasy.com. I'm sure it'll also do it on Shopkeep Arty, and you can see the about video that we've just literally launched and have a little watch. So if you are interested, it kind of all explains it there. For those watching for the first time, be it on this interactive webinar or on YouTube, our free weekly Arty classes are designed for all ages and provide a creative escape 2 times a week in the company of amazing award-winning artists such as Tim. So remember, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this every time now, 2 times a week, Tuesday and a Thursday at 2. And this week with Tim. So we've got a great little lineup today. You do need to register, because we get asked this quite a bit. You do need to register each time for each interactive class, because obviously different people can make different classes. And you can do this by visiting shopkeeparty.com/Arty classes. It's, to be honest, the most important link out of all the other links that we give you. If you go to shopkeeparty.com/Arty classes, you can then see all the different classes that we're doing. You can register for them. You can, it's got a button and see the details, the materials list, and you can also go through to the artists' shops and sign up for their private masterclasses if they're doing that as well. Our mission is to, as a company, and with especially our Arty classes, is to hunt out the best artists from around the world and to share them with you for an hour, totally free. And obviously, if you then enjoy it, then they also provide 2 to 3 hour masterclasses that you can then sign up for and really dive deeper into their art. And it's an amazing afternoon. We've done quite a few of them now, and it's a really great experience. And at the end of it, it's a very good value compared to a proper workshop that you'd obviously drive to. You're doing it in the comfort of your own home, but at the end of it, you end up with your own mini masterpiece. So it's pretty good value, really. So this week we're joined by Tim Fisher, who's won numerous awards for his art. He was a finalist in the Daily Mail Not the Turner Prize award, shortlisted from 12,000 art entrants, and had his pastel painting called Pink Hydrangeas displayed in the Mall Gallery in London. So I'm really looking forward to this one. He's also got a couple of art patents to his name as well, so he's a clever chap as well. As always, Tim and I can't see or hear you. Ideally, please type your questions in the Q&A section, and we can then get to that in our own time when ready. If you want to ask a question direct to Tim, you can raise your hand by pressing the hand, and it's a bit like you putting a hand up in a classroom, and we can let you in, but please make it short and to the point. We've got hundreds of people watching and only an hour maximum of time, so please respect people's times. I may need to cut you off if time's threatened, so just be warned. I don't want to be like the old head teacher and master, but anyway, sometimes I may have to be called to do that. Similarly, if you're watching on YouTube, and we've got a few people there at the moment, there is a bit of a delay, but you can type your message in the chat, and we'll do our best. I am looking at that as well, and we'll do our best to answer that as well while you're there. So hello to YouTube. Finally, we'll stop around halfway to take a short break and to ask Tim about his next exclusive masterclass, which is on Tuesday, the 14th of July. But for now, it's time to hand over to Tim. Hello, Tim.
Hi there, John. Welcome everybody to my studio. Today we're going to work through a painting using watercolor pencils. So I'll show you the scene we're going to do. Hopefully you can see that from the overhead camera. This is a painting I did a number of years ago. Unfortunately, this is a print because I sold the original, but I thought it'd be a nice subject to do today using watercolor pencils. I must mention as well, one of the things I forgot to mention on the materials list was you do need a small container of water to go with the watercolor pencils. But other than that, hopefully you should have everything you need. So this is the subject, the mountain farm. I'll talk in a little while about the different types of watercolor pencils, but just to get us started, I'll get the building drawn and then put a little bit of masking fluid onto it. So
now, just before you go, I'll just do some shout outs because we've had quite a few people. So Marion has said hi there. Karen, hello. Sarah, hello, Tim. Sarah Hogg, that is. Julia, she wanted to ask about the materials, but you'll obviously be covering that. Sasha, hello. We're going to try and limit the number of people coming in and out, so just to let you know about that, because we were running quite behind last time on the time with everybody coming in. But we've got Lala who's kept her hand up religiously, so I will let Lala come in. Hello, Lala. You're on mute at the moment. Okay. I seems to be having a problem with that. We've got Rishi. Hello, Rishi.
I don't have masking fluid.
Okay, well, masking fluid is something that's probably quite important for this. Is that right, Tim? Or can we have a workaround?
We can work around it. So what I'll do, I'll show you how you can work around it. It won't be as brilliant as using it, but it is a way of getting around the problem. So okay. I can talk about that in a few moments.
Okay, perfect. Thanks,
just
Rishi.
I don't.
Okay. Well, we'll try and accommodate that. But thanks for letting us know. And let me just see if Lala, yes, there we go. Hello.
Hi, John. Sorry, I only put my hand up to say I was here.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, you don't need to do that. We can see that you're here, but well done anyway. Thanks for letting us know. I hope you enjoy today. Brilliant. Okay, so back over to you, Tim. Sorry about that.
Okay, so let's get started. You've seen the image that we're going to paint. Hopefully you've downloaded this little outline drawing of the farm. One of the things we need to do is to draw this onto the watercolor paper first. I'm using, it's 300 gram, 140 pound watercolor paper. It's a knot surface, so that's sort of halfway between a smooth and a rough surface. I mean, with watercolor pencils, if you can get used to the surfaces, the rough surfaces are better because you get a little bit more granulation and texture, but hopefully we'll get a bit of that going on here. I've got a 3B pencil, which I've sharpened to quite a nice sharp point. I'm going to draw in the farmhouse. One of the things that's important when you draw the building in is that it's not dead center and too large in the building. So I'm going to draw it down in this bottom edge of the paper. So let's get started. I always start with a chimney, I don't know why, but then I'll sort of work outwards in different directions as I build up the subject. So this will only take a few minutes. As I draw the farmhouse, you'll notice I don't put a base on the building. This is helpful in the sense that the whole building will sit nicely in the landscape by doing this. I've got a little extension on the end here, and then a little bit of dereliction on the end, a little bit of a wall with a couple of windows in it as the building tapers away. I'll put a porch on the front and just indicate windows. There's no point doing a lot of detailed pencil drawing because if you're using masking fluid, it's a sort of rubbery, and it will, as you rub it off later, it will rub off on the corner there. few
There's a
sheets.
little bit of a pause in what you were saying there, actually, Tim. It just kind of stopped a little bit, but hopefully, would you mind just repeating what you just said?
Yes, I've just put a little washing line on the end of the building there.
Oh yeah.
Was that the bit that got cut out?
No, the bit before about the type of because you were going about the masking fluid or something.
Oh yes, I was saying if you do a lot of detail drawing in pencil and then put masking fluid on, the rubbery constituency of the masking fluid, I mean, as you rub it off, it acts like a plastic eraser and it'll rub your pencil marks away. So there's no point putting a lot of detail. We can put that on afterwards.
Perfect.
So-
We've had a question about someone's got Pentel watercolor pencils. Is that okay?
Pentel. I think so.
As long as it's watercolor pencils, it should be all right. Shouldn't
I'm
it?
not familiar with the brand, but if it looks like a pencil and when you wet it, it turns into solution, you should be okay.
Perfect.
But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put some masking fluid on. I usually have this little cheat. I use Copydex, which is an adhesive which you can get from most hardware shops, and it's as good as masking fluid. In fact, it's slightly better. Often you'll find if your masking fluid gets old, when you paint it onto the surface, when you rub it off later on, it will stick to the paper and you can risk tearing the paper. With Copydex, you can dilute it with a little bit of water, paint it on, and it behaves just like the real thing. So I've got a pot, and I'm just going to put some little spots of this. This is actually a carpet glue. It smells a little bit of ammonia, and I'm going to get some little spots of water on my finger. You only need a tiny amount of water in there. And I'm also going to put, I want to tint the masking fluid. So I've got a little bit of watercolor paint, a little bit on the end of my finger, and then stir all that in, mix it all around. And this is my homemade masking fluid. So what I need next is an old brush. See, while I just wipe the glue off my fingers. So I've got, this is a really old brush. You don't really want to use a good, precious sable brush because the masking fluid will eventually ruin your brushes. A good tip is to just rub a little bit of hand soap into the bristles, and that'll help to protect the brush, but never let the masking fluid dry on the brush. So I've painted it blue, so hopefully you'll be able to see this as I paint it onto the surface. One of the other things I would say when you're applying masking fluid is don't apply it really, really thickly because it will take forever to dry and you'll very quickly get left behind with this demonstration. So I'm just putting it on quite thinly. It doesn't matter if you leave little tiny bits of the paper showing through because when you apply the washes, that'll create a nice sort of speckled effect onto the walls of the building.
And Tim, what should someone do if they don't have masking fluid?
Well, if you haven't got masking fluid, you need to wait until I've completed the wash. And then while the wash is still wet, get a piece of tissue paper, roll it up into a little tiny sausage, like so, and then just very quickly dab away the wet paint that's covering the house. As best as you can, try and paint around the property, but any paint that strays onto it, if you dab that off straight away with the tissue, hopefully that'll preserve the whiteness of the paper. So I'm just going to put a little bit of masking fluid on these sheets that are hanging on the line, and there we are, we're ready to go now. Now this is going to take just a few minutes to dry. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and avoid rubbing my brush through the masking fluid when I'm doing the painting because the brush will pick up little bits of the glue and it will wreck your brush. So the next stage now is to apply the watercolor pencils. And I'll just talk about the different sorts that you can get. I'm using these colors. These are made by Watercolor, and they are what are known as watercolor sticks. There's no wood on them at all. The entire thing is made from like a watercolor pigment. I've got two sets of primary colors. I've got a red, a blue and a yellow, which I can mix a lot of other colors from. And I've got a set of what I would call dull primary colors. I've got a brown, which is red, an ochre, which you class as a yellow, and an indigo, which you class as a sort of dark blue. So with this set of 6, I can do almost any sort of color combination. Alternatively, if you haven't got those, there are other products available that are just as suitable. These are watercolors that are made by Derwent, and these again are solid sticks of color. They're very fluid and go into solution very easily, and they are quite nice to use. But the problem with them is once they get wet, once you wet them, they can go quite soft, and they take quite a while to dry out. I would imagine most people would have what are classed as sort of wooden barreled watercolor pencils. These are like ordinary pencils, but they have color in the center of the pencil. So if you notice on mine, what I've done, I've sharpened them all the way back as far as I can to expose as much as of the tip of the pencil as possible, because that actually makes it easier to use them, because we're going to use these as a wet technique. So we need to get as much pigment off the pencils as possible. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to work with the Watercolor solid watercolor sticks. But
I can't resist saying this, Tim. That tip was very good with the tips.
Oh, right, thank you.
I've had another question. Is there any danger that the blue watercolor pigment in the masking fluid will stain the paper?
Of course it won't. I'm hoping it won't. It never has in the past, but I mean, it's like Murphy's Law. I mean, I'm saying how wonderful this is and it never sticks, and you're guaranteed to stick today. But, you know, these problems are sent to try us.
Well done, Claire. That was a good question.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between pencils and sticks? What's the difference between them?
The basic difference is with a pencil, you're buying a lot of wood, which you end up paying for, and then you have to throw it away. With a watercolor stick, it's solid pigment all the way through, so you don't waste anything. They're really, really good value for money. So I would say that's the biggest advantage. One disadvantage with the watercolor pencils is that the moisture can get down the center of the pencil, and it will make the pencil fall apart eventually if you're not careful. So I always stick with the sticks. It works brilliantly for me.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Thanks, Tim.
Right, so we're ready for the wash.
I think so. Let's go for it.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to take a scalpel. You can use anything, a sharp knife or a razor blade, but be careful. I always have a little piece of cork, which I put on the end of it just to stop cutting my fingers. The last thing you want is your hands bleeding all over your painting. I'm going to start with an ultramarine blue. This is quite a common colour. Now, one of the
sorry, Tim, can I just, if you are under the age of probably 10 or so, do have some adult supervision if you're using a knife at this point. So always worth just having some adult supervision if you've got that around you. Thanks, Tim.
Even if you're over the age of 10.
Well, yes, true.
Right, so one of the problems you get with watercolor pencils is your instinct is to scribble colour onto the surface and then wet it with a brush to create a wash. But one of the problems you get with that is your scribble marks tend to stay on the paper. So what we want is a nice, smooth, even wash of different colours. And I'll show you a little trick for doing that with these pencils. And this is why the solid ones work so well. And you'll see why I've sharpened back the wooden ones. So if I get a knife and literally just scrape pigment onto the surface, I'm scraping the blue on first. I'm putting quite a lot on.
Trisha's asked, can she use Inktense blocks by Derwent?
Yes, you can. They'll be fine. I mean, I probably prefer the Inktense pencils. I've never used the blocks, but I would imagine they're the same. So yes,
and Sasha, she's asked, can I use scissors instead of a thing because her parents aren't around? So Sasha, it might be a bit difficult to do with this with scissors. It probably is more dangerous. If you've just happened to have a sharp knife, but just be really careful.
Or a bit of sandpaper, if you've got a little bit of sandpaper.
Sandpaper would be good. Yeah, perfect.
Right, so that's the blue. I'm going to put a yellow ochre on now. I want a nice sort of band of yellow. This is the mountain that we're creating at the moment. So we want lots of texture and colour going into here. It's a little bit random. I'm never really quite sure what I'm going to get, but it's quite fun to put all these different colours onto the surface.
Personally, I've never thought about scraping the watercolor pencil off like this, so it's a new one for me.
Yeah, and you can't do it on a windy day. So a little bit of yellow through there. It doesn't matter. I'm putting yellow amongst the blue because I want to get some little green areas, because the yellow will mix with the blue and create a green. Now I'm going in with the indigo at the bottom, just for a little bit more dark. And then finally, a little bit of red, just around the cottage. Okay, so now we've got the pigment on. That's about the right amount. It's a little bit suck it and see, but we can always let it dry and put more pigment on later if we find it's not dark enough. So if we take a size 12 round nylon brush.
Just before we do this, Tim, let me just launch a little poll just to see how everybody's doing on the time perspective. So
okay.
If you can just say, do you need more time at the moment? If you can just answer yes or no, it'll just give us quite a good. Jackie, while I'm collecting that, Jackie's got a question. You might need to unmute, Jackie. Hello.
Yes, I was sorry. I was just trying to say that I'm having trouble keeping up.
I'm sorry.
Just while you're obviously very practiced at doing it.
Yes, I mean normally I carve a spoon with the pencil just to pass the time. Do you want me to give you a few minutes to catch up?
Yeah, well, it's looking like it's about 60% of people don't need. It's about 40% do need.
Okay, just go for it. I'll do my
Don't
best.
worry, we'll go slowly. We'll go slowly. I think let's just we'll go slowly. How about that, Tim?
Okay.
Right, let's get back onto the thing.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Here we go then. So now we've got all the pigment scraped onto the surface, we can start just in one corner. So this little corner here, that's going to be where the sky is just showing behind the mountain top. So if I just use a little circular motion, plenty of water. You don't want so much water that it's running down your paper, but enough water just to get us into solution. Don't worry if you've got any little tiny flecks staying behind on the paper, because we can blow those off later on when it's dry.
Would you mind just repeating some of the colours you've used? Because somebody would like, Sasha would like to just know roughly what colours.
No problem. I'm currently diluting the French ultramarine blue. I've put a little bit of bright yellow down there and also yellow ochre. And this side, this French ultramarine blue going all the way around there. And then right at the bottom, I've put some indigo. I want to put a little bit of red around the top of the house. I mean, at the end of the day, you can just use any colours you like. If you do it in this sort of careful order, you won't get any sort of muddy colours coming out as well. So I'm really just moving in a sort of long strip along the edge of the wash. Very relaxing thing to do. It's, because you've done all the hard work putting all the scrapings on, so this is the fun bit. One of the things I would say is that as you work along this edge, try not to let the edge dry too much, because you'll end up with a hard edge and the colour won't flow down the paper. But it doesn't matter if you put a little bit too much water in. That will create a little tiny cauliflower, and that all adds to the texture of the mountainside. And we're going slow enough, John.
I think so. I think this is good. People are getting into the mood. Claire Otten has said it's like the magic painting books from the 70s.
Oh yes, I used to look forward to my Rupert Bear annuals every year. I think this is a lovely way of working. It's something I do quite often out in the field when I'm doing plein air work. I'll take a large watercolor sketch pad and a handful of these pencils, and I can paint anything almost anywhere. But as I say, you get a windy day and you can't really do this sort of scraping method. What you have to do is scribble your pencils onto a separate piece of paper and then use that as a palette. So you pick your colours up and paint them onto the paper. And I'll show you a little bit later how that works.
Rishi's got her hand up. Hello, Rishi.
What would you say if I can see the brush strokes and some of the shavings aren't exactly dissolving?
No, they're not. All you've got to do is just let the painting dry and they'll just brush off. You can turn the painting upside down, give it a good tap on the back and they should disappear. One of the problems you get, if it's dry and you rub it with your finger, you'll get a mark from the bit of pigment. But hopefully when the surface is dry, it should be able to all be brushed off on the surface.
Hopefully
Also,
that'll
mine
work
is-
for you, Rishi.
Yeah, and it's also mainly purple, not blue.
Oh dear.
Oh,
Good
well,
luck with that.
there are mountains.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay, so I'll let you all catch up with that, and we'll just give it a few minutes to settle and start to dry.
Is this a good time to have a little halfway break, do you think, Tim, or should we wait?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So this time last week, while you're completing that stage, we were introduced to oil painter Neil Adams, who helped us paint a simple cloudscape. And we'll hopefully be speaking to Neil towards the end of this class about his thoughts on the paintings received, because we've had quite a few paintings from you received from last week, and they all look amazing. But for now, what we thought would be a good idea is for Tim to tell you a little bit more about what he plans to paint with you on Tuesday, the 14th of July. It'll be at 3:30 in the afternoon. I think it's called a Poppy Field of Dreams. Is that right, Tim?
I think it's, yes. As you can see in the background, I'm mad about poppies, do lots of poppy painting, but I'll just get the painting.
Oh yeah, let's have a look at it. Perfect.
Right.
Wow, amazing trees in the background. I love that, and I love the sky. It's fantastic.
Yes, it's got. I love these wonderful blousy skies that you can do with acrylic paint, and the trees are just done with a simple cast sponge, which I tear into cubes and then use that to create all the tree textures. The foreground, the poppy field, that's an underpainting of red, and then over the top of that we paint the greens with a palette knife. It's a fairly straightforward painting to do, and you can use in all sorts of different orientations. You can change the shape of the painting, or have a nice long letterbox or a square one, more trees, and there's lots and lots of different things you can do with these techniques. So my intention is to show you lots of different ways of using the acrylic paint, which you can then take away with you and convert into all of the sorts of different paintings. This painting's got a little claim to fame in the sense that it was featured on the front cover of the Leisure Painter magazine, a very similar painting that I did, where I was experimenting with some new acrylics that have come out. You can also see it if you've got this book, How to Paint Flowers in Acrylics. If you go, I cleverly put a paper clip inside to find the page. If you go into this section, this actually has all the stages of the painting. When I did it quite a number of years ago as an exercise for the book, but we're as you can see, ours does look slightly different because as I've learned the acrylic method of working, I've sort of learned some techniques to make it a lot brighter and a lot more impactful. So
that looks amazing. It looks stunning, and I love the fact you could actually be learning to paint something that's been in all these different magazines and books. So it sounds amazing.
Yep.
Well, I'm really looking forward to that, and it looks so dramatic. The colours really stand out on this screen as well. So that looks brilliant.
It's a wonderful painting. It looks fantastic hung over the fireplace. Yes,
exactly. Well, what I'll do is I'll just go and grab the link for that shop. So if you do want to take part, it's I think just entry to that 2-3 hour workshop. It's starts at £35 just for the simple entry. So I'll put the shop link. You can go and have a look, all the materials required and things like that. But it's going to be a fantastic afternoon. And as I said at the beginning, you'll end up with a mini masterpiece of your own. And as Tim said, something to hang over your fire, if you've got a fire, that is. So brilliant. So hopefully you've all caught up and we can get back to the mountain farm.
Yeah. It still is a little bit damp, but hey ho, we'll go for it. I'm going to use the French ultramarine blue stick, and I'm going to scribble it onto a piece of scrap paper. This is just a scrap piece of old watercolor paper, which I'm using as a palette. So scribble that onto there, and then I'm picking up a size 6 round nylon watercolor brush and just literally putting the paint into solution. We can then use that to paint the edge of the mountain as it just cuts down the edge of the painting there. Now what I want to do is just feather the edges off. So I've just got clean water on there, and we can drag that off. So it makes a nice sort of misty scene. I'm going to put a little bit of red into that because it's a bit too blue for my liking. So it's gone a sort of bluey grey now.
Now I missed a question on YouTube actually. What about Brusho? Said Simone.
Yes, you can use Brusho. They're not exactly watercolor pencils, I don't think, but you can do this exercise using those pigments.
Perfect. The other thing as well, just about your masterclass, I thought, Tim,
yeah.
How good do people need to be? Do they need to be professionals, or what sort of level can enjoy it?
I think any level really. When you start the masterclass, obviously when you finish, you will be virtually a professional artist. I'd say it's any level. It's pretty straightforward stuff, really.
I think so long as you can, you feel you've got the right level of materials and things like that, that you've got the...
Yeah, as long as you've got similar gear to the stuff I'm using, it should be a walk in the park.
Walk in the field.
A walk in the fields of poppies, yes.
Yeah.
See here, I'm just dipping in little spots of colour into the wet paint to get a little bit more texture around that upper part of the farm. Just using clean water to break up the edges of the painting. So we've got the edge of the mountain just going down the corner. What we want to do now is add more texture into the rest of the background of the mountain. Now you can re-wet this with a brush, or you can use a little atomizer if you've got one. Some more water on the surface. So I'm going to now scrape more pigment directly into the wet paint. So this is a slightly different technique to the one we started with. The pigment is going to dissolve slightly in some places and stay as little lumps in others, but hopefully this should give us some nice textures as we work our way through the mountain. We do want a little stone wall running down there, so I'm also going to just run the indigo through the wet paint. Just have a little bit going through there. more yellow ochre. I felt when I started this, I didn't put enough colour onto this part, so I'm really more or less doing what we did right at the beginning.
So you've sketched out the profile of the mountains there, just loosely in the distance. And
Yeah,
then,
with a brush.
and then how are you, with regards to the scraping the colours, are you using that horizon to dictate where you put some of the colours, or is it just a feel you've got?
It's just really a feeling. This is my feeling is this is the body of the mountain. And often if you go to places like the Lake District or Wales or Pembrokeshire and look at these hillsides, if you just do that and look through a circle made with your hand, you'll see all sorts of wonderful patterns and textures that are made by the hillside. And we can get these by doing all sorts of different things. I'm going to do, well, I'm getting a horrible curved shape there, so I'll just break that up. I'm now going to do just a little bit of spatter. So I've got a damp brush and the red colour pencil, and I'm just going to flick some colour into there. And that's spattering nicely and dissolving into the hillside. How are we doing for time, John? I've sort of lost track of it.
We're doing okay. We're doing okay. I keep thinking that we started at 2:30, but yes, we're sort of 40 minutes in. So I think it's fine to go on for another quarter of an hour or so if you want to.
Okay, that's fine. It's just you sort of tend, when you paint, you tend to lose all track of time. I've done a little bit of spattering here, just to create some nice foreground textures. So the next stage is to remove the masking fluid. This is the sort of bit where it sometimes sticks. I'm going to cheat a little bit and use a hairdryer just to dry the area around the building, because if you've got a lot of water over it and you rub the masking fluid, it'll rub the water into the paper and then it'll mark it. The disadvantage of using a hairdryer is this will help to make the masking fluid stick to the surface. So it's a bit of a gamble. So excuse the noise.
I think you'll find that the noise is automatically cut off by Zoom, so that's quite a good.
What's that?
Quite a good thing. Yeah, Zoom automatically cuts out the hairdryer noise.
Oh,
so it's quite a useful tool.
Okay, so that's just helped us along a little. I need to remove the masking fluid now, and I'm going to use a little bit of tissue and just give it a rub, and hopefully it should come off.
So this is a little bit like doing a scratch card.
Yes, it's just like you could get a job working for Camelot.
Are you a winner? Are you a winner?
Yes. Oh, 3/8. It's still a little bit damp there, so there. So we're ready to progress now and do something with the farmhouse. I've got rid of most of the masking fluid. It doesn't matter if there's a little tiny bit left on there. That's all texture. So I'm going to paint the farmhouse next. So we want a grey sort of slate for the roof. So to make it grey, I'm scribbling yellow ochre and French ultramarine blue, and that should give us a sort of greeny grey.
I've got Rishi on again. Hi,
Yep.
Hi Rishi. Did you manage to make it work?
I'm so sorry I'm asking so many questions.
That's okay.
One thing is mine's looks much more dramatic.
What, the
It's
colours that you've used?
Yeah, it looks like your Tim has that like subtle look, and mine looks like it came straight out of a party cannon.
Have you used the same colours that I've used?
Yeah, I have, but the thing is, because I added red all over the place, so it's purple, and then I think I shaved a bit too much, so now it's like a huge confetti cannon.
You may have just overdone the purple a little bit, Rishi.
I couldn't help myself.
Oh well, not to worry.
Got taken away. Had a bit of a party. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it when you submit it, Rishi. It'll be interesting to see what you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm just painting in the rooftops using this mixture of yellow ochre and French ultramarine blue. The next thing I need to do is paint the front face of the building. I mean, for impact, you could leave it as a white building, but I'm going to put just a hint of yellow ochre over the whole facade of the building. So I'm going to do what I would call a gradated wash. So it's going to start with a very pale colour there, and as I go to the right, it's going to get a little bit darker. That's a gradated wash. There. So the next thing I need to do now is to place some trees in the background behind the building, and I'm going to take the indigo watercolor stick and literally just draw in the shape of the trees. These are quite elderly trees, so they've got quite a mature shape to them. Generally, when you're doing trees, your sort of overall shape is sort of almost like a mushroom shape on the canopy. And then if you can imagine that shape and then just work your branches out to the edge of that shape. And then we'll have another one just sitting there, just on the edge. You don't want your trees looking too much like a lollipop, so bring some of the branches out lower down, and we'll have a little bit of ivy going up some of the branches. So this is a dry technique where we can use watercolor pencils directly onto the surface as a dry medium. So what we can do now is just dampen those a little bit with a small brush, and this will just soften the edge of the tree. And we just want a little bit of something in the canopy. So I'm mixing up some more yellow ochre and then just doing a wash of that through the canopy there. That looks a bit more tree-like now, doesn't it?
Let me just launch another poll just to see how everybody's doing on time.
Okay.
So if you can just say, do you need more time, yes or no? Okay, it's about 50-50 actually.
Okay.
So I think if we could...
Yeah, you've got some fast painters out there, John.
Yes, exactly. They're keeping up. So half of them are keeping up.
That's good.
Thanks,
Okay,
Rob.
I'm going to take the indigo stick now and just put a little bit more detail information around this cottage. And that means a little bit of dark under the eaves and a little mark just on the right-hand side of these gable windows. Put the windows in. Usually when I do windows, I don't do every single window pane, just do a few. And it looks more painterly when you do it that way. Put the doorway in. And just a little bit under there. So we're getting on quite well with it now. What we need to do next is just put a few shadows onto the building. And to mix a shadow colour, all you need to do is get a red and a blue. Mix those two together and it gives you a nice sort of purpley shadow colour. So the light is coming across from this side, so we want a little shadow cast by the chimney onto the roof, and oh, it's still wet, doesn't matter. A little shadow cast by the dormer windows and just under the eaves. And I'll put another shadow across there. Now we need just a few little darks around it, just to bring some of these bits out. So I'm going to have a little bit of foliage breaking through here. This just helps to set off your washing. You can see that the occupier has been using DAS on this one now. Whiter than white. There we go. A little bit of a shadow on the cottage door as well. And we're ready now just to start finishing off with the foreground.
Brilliant. It's so effective.
Does anybody need a breather to catch up?
Let me just relaunch the poll again. How's everyone doing on time? Okay, it's still around the 50-50. About 40% would like a bit more time, so we can. Is there something from a small waste of time, a small sort of use of a couple of minutes of time that you could do?
No problem at all.
Song and dance.
I'll show you a few pencil techniques that don't appear in this demonstration.
Perfect.
Right, one of the things you can do, which is great fun, is you can dip your pencils directly into the water before you actually start working. So I've got a yellow ochre, a blue and a red. So if I start with the blue, and I've dipped it into the water pot and just make some random marks. When I say random marks, I mean marks that aren't evenly spaced. And then use the red. And again, making sure that they're not evenly spaced marks. And then I think I've changed my mind. I've gone for a bright yellow rather than yellow ochre. And just put a few bright marks. Does anybody know what it is yet? So if I get the indigo and just put some heads.
Oh, you gave it away there.
I know. And we should end up with almost an instant crowd. This is great if you're doing scenes of St. Mark's Square where you've got huge hordes of people. I mean, we don't see many crowds these days, but you know, if you did want a bit of nostalgia, little shadow on the legs.
This could be Bournemouth Beach. Bournemouth Beach.
It could be Bournemouth Beach quite easily. Another thing you can do using this dipping technique and spatter technique, if you use one of these, which is a brush pen, it's got water in the handle of the brush. These are brilliant for spattering because you get a constant flow of liquid. So if I spatter with the yellow, and I spatter with the blue, I get a green. And I can draw into that. And I can also use the tip of the brush to draw bits. And if I dip the red in, very quickly you can create a whole field of flowers. Told you I was into poppies.
That's brilliant. That's really effective. However, and there is a however, Cheryl says, I can't see the work anymore to catch up.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's always the problem.
I know it is. But those were brilliant tips. Those were, Tim. That was great.
Yeah. I'll say if we get any time at the end, I've got a couple more I can show you. Right, is it okay if I carry on with this one?
Yes, I think let's start. Let's keep going.
Okay, so dipping the pencil into water is another way of working. So I've dipped it in. We're going to have a little wall going across the foreground. One of the things you have to watch with walls is that they can act like a barrier and it can stop the eye going into the painting. So I'm not going to go all the way across. I'm going to leave a few gaps on either end. So if I get my brush and just let that run off either way, and we'll have a little gate. Which
Marion's asked, how did you make the grey for the roof?
Oh, the grey for the roof. That was yellow ochre and French ultramarine blue mixed together. It gives a lovely sort of greeny grey that you often see in these cottages in the Lake District or Derbyshire or anywhere like that. So just to finish off, we'll just put a few marks in the foreground. I'm going to spatter again using the red watercolor pencil and a brush and a little bit of yellow going through there. That should hopefully give us an orange from the yellow. And some little marks on the top here. This is to keep the sheep in or out because the farmer's left the gate open. And that is almost it. I did suggest that if you had a bottle of ink, white acrylic ink, you can, if for example your washing didn't work, you could actually paint the washing back in. So this is like a sort of get out of jail ink. But as I've done such a brilliant job, the only thing I can think to do is put a little bit of smoke coming out the chimney. And I think that's about finished. We'll give it a white front door as well.
Brilliant. All ties it together.
Yeah.
Well, that's so effective and so quick, Tim. You did that so. I know people were struggling a little bit to keep up, but it makes it so effective. It's a lovely, lovely picture.
Thank you for that. I do apologise for being a fast painter, but often you find the artist's brain works very, very quickly. It's the part of you that isn't the artist that sort of slows you down, tries to hold you back. But if you just let it all go and just go for it, you'll find all sorts of exciting and wonderful things happen. Yeah,
no, well said, well said. Well, I'm sure you'll agree that painting was great, and I'm really looking forward to, and I'm sure Tim is looking forward to seeing what you can all come up with over the next few days. Either today, you may have just finished it all, but if you want to redo it, obviously this video will be up on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. You can rerun it again and finish the painting, and then next week we'll invite Tim back at the same time next week to have a look and review all the paintings and pick a winner. So with regards to sharing, we are not taking emails anymore. I've had so many hundreds of emails with paintings, although it's really lovely. It's becoming quite difficult to juggle all the other things. There's too many plates spinning. So we thought of a new way to share your paintings. If you've got a public account on Instagram, you can hashtag ShopkeepArty, and you can also tag us. However, the main thing that we'll use is a post that we've put on Facebook. So you do need to have a Facebook account or have someone, a member of your family or whatever, that's got a Facebook account, and you literally go to ShopkeepArty, and there's a Facebook post, and it's basically for today, and you'll definitely be able to spot it because it's got Tim's painting on it, and literally just make a comment and post your picture in the comment section of that post. So, and then we can run down that stream next week with Tim and have a look at all the different paintings. And we think we're going to try that this week. I think it's going to be a little bit easier to manage everything. The link to that Facebook post, by the way, is also on the YouTube video in the description. It's got the link to the Facebook page there as well, where you can post it. So that's that. Now, while we're at the end of the thing, as I promised earlier, Neil Adams, we did a great session with Neil last week. and I just wanted to get him into here to talk about some of the paintings we received last week. So you've just got to unmute and start your video as well, Neil, if you want to join us on video. And while he's doing that, I'll share our screen and show you some of the paintings that we had last week. So we'll just go to the blog. And if we click on Arty classes, and we'll basically scroll down here to Neil's class, and you can relive it there, obviously, and it shows you the materials list. And right, hello Neil, how are you doing?
Hi John, I'm good. How are you?
Great. We had a variety of different pictures from James at 9, who I thought did a great job. What were your thoughts about all the
Yeah,
different...
absolutely fantastic, and so good to see so many different styles and people using just different colors, which is brilliant, which is exactly what I wanted, because the technique I demonstrated is, you know, it's a way of building tone, which is great because it means you can then choose the color schemes that you want. You can play around with it, and it's just fantastic. I mean, some people there are clearly, you know, very close, very similar. And you know, a huge congratulations to the younger artists out there as well, because it's not an easy exercise and oils can be a bit daunting. So and so again, lovely combinations of some people painting with very soft, subtle tones, other people painting with more confident brush strokes and leaving a lot more texture in, some nice blending, and yet at the same time a really great mixture, a fantastic mixture. We're not just getting, you know, everyone trying to paint exactly the same thing, which is exactly what I'd hoped for. I wanted to make sure that people would put their own spin on it, which is
exactly. And I've had an email actually from someone who always comes to all the watercolor classes and everything, and she's booked your masterclass this Friday. And she sent me an email and said, you know, I'm gonna try. So,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So well, that's really good.
It's such, I mean, I'm in awe of people like Tim and you know, artists that work in watercolor. It's an incredible discipline and medium, beautiful medium to work in, and for the old oil painters.
Sorry, Neil, I've just muted you by mistake.
Am I there?
Yes, sorry about that.
Yeah.
I was trying to put the spotlight on you so that everyone could see you. Yes, so sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, no, it's lovely, and it's interesting as well to listen to a watercolor artist talking about techniques and colors, which, you know, relate to the way I work in oil. So it just goes to show there's a lot of commonality between us in terms of disciplines and the medium that you use. But brilliant, it was a great lesson, and fantastic to see so many people enjoyed it.
Yeah, perfect. So you've picked, out of those submissions, you've picked a winner, and maybe you could just say a few words about that one.
Yeah, it was really difficult. I mean, I know it's the corniest phrase that any judge ever says, oh, it's really hard to choose a winner, but it genuinely was really hard because every piece there had its own merits and in its own way. And I thought, well, there's 4 or 5, you know, of what I can see here. I like them all in their own individual way. And in the end, it was almost a bit of a kind of, you know, stick a finger on one and make a decision. And I think in the end, I chose Jane Fraser because in the end, I just loved her use of color, and the fact that she went with, you know, a different color scheme, and kept everything vibrant, and put some subtle tones in there, but also some nice strong brush marks as well, some streaks and things which give the whole picture a piece of, you know, a bit of life as well. So congratulations to everyone, and you know, Jane, well done, and certainly well done to everyone who took part in it, because you all produced something in your own style, which is fantastic, exactly what we want.
Brilliant. Well said, Neil, and thank you for picking that. And well done, Jane. If you can send me your email, your home address, send it to arty@shopkeepeasy.com, and then we'll create a gift for you. I think that would look fantastic on a square ceramic coaster, you lucky thing. So yeah, send me your home address and we'll get that off to you. So thanks very much. And thank you again, Neil, for joining us. And I'll see you on Friday at your masterclass.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, we're going to be doing big skies on Friday. Not quite as big as this one, but we're going to be doing some big skies. And we're going to be
fantastic.
Playing with tones as well, and doing all sorts of fun things. And with a bit of luck, at some point, I'll get my hair cut as well.
I think we're all in that boat. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Take care. Thanks.
Right. So thanks very much again Tim, it's been a really fantastic session. I'm really looking forward to the field of dreams, the poppy field of dreams as well in a few weeks' time. By the way, anybody that's interested on our chat, I've put the link to Tim's shop so that if you are interested in doing that masterclass with Tim and I, you can click that link and go ahead. And if you want to click on that now, because as soon as I end this, it'll be gone. Or you can obviously go through the Shopkeeper Arty link anyway. But let's have a look. We've got thank you, Tim, from Claire. We've got love this from Christine van Oorschot. I think she's from South Africa, actually, I seem to remember. Nicola Garrett, thank you so much. Really enjoyed it. I think there's been a lot of pleasure from what you've done today, and it's opened my eyes to what you can do with watercolor pencils, to be honest. It's amazing. So thank you again, Tim, and until this Thursday when we've got another Arty class, it's bye-bye from me, goodbye, and bye-bye from Tim.
Bye-bye.
Bye.